Hello everyone, welcome to my beginner's guide to Pathogenic. In Pathogenic, you play as the disease in a 2D shooter and fight off your victim's immune system as you infect different parts of the body, evolving your organism along the way. Gameplay-wise, Pathogenic is a roguelite, meaning you will die and retry often, and each attempt is randomized, similar to games like Hades or The Binding of Isaac. But how exactly do you fight off the infinitely complex and highly adapted human immune system? The cellular organs of your pathogen, organelles, are your main source of damage and have a huge variety of effects, which work together to power you up and give you the tools to fight. Your pathogen has a certain amount of organelle slots that can be modified and filled as your run progresses. There are 5 categories of organelles: weapons, infusers, support, active abilities, and mitochondria. Weapons are pretty self-explanatory, they deal damage. Infusers apply extra effects to any connected weapons or other damage-dealing organelles. There are tons of effects you can add to your attacks, such as increasing damage, giving them a burn debuff, or causing them to home in on enemies. Support organelles include flagella, which increase your speed, and other organelles with supporting effects such as summoning minions or healing you. Active abilities can be used by pressing E and also have a variety of effects, such as exploding corpses or giving you a dash attack. Last but not least, mitochondria overcharge connected organelles, amplifying their effects. For example, they can increase the fire rate of your weapons, or increase the movement speed from your flagella. Each mitochondrion has a condition that needs to be met for it to overcharge connected organelles for a set amount of time. Each organelle has its own rarity with stronger effects at higher tiers, and you can combine 2 of the same organelle into one organelle of a higher rarity. Also, some organelles will have special traits with their own benefits and downsides. Organelle slots are either internal or external. Usually, external slots hold weapons and flagella, while internal slots hold mitochondria, infusers, support organelles, and active abilities. As your pathogen evolves and mutates, it grows bigger and gains new slots for organelles. Later on, you can also unlock a stash spot, where you can store an organelle you're not actively using. Besides organelles, mutations are another way you get stronger as you progress. As you kill enemies, you get DNA from their corpses, and collecting DNA allows you to choose from a variety of mutations that give you powerful bonuses for the rest of the run. There's a ton of options you can choose from, so you'll have to see which ones you like. Let's really quickly go over controls and UI. When you start a run, the controls will appear in the first room for easy reference. For keyboard and mouse, use WASD to move and left click to shoot. Shooting requires stamina, which is shown by this green circle, so you need to reload occasionally. Space lets you dash, giving you a quick burst of movement speed, and holding space lets you sprint. Tab opens up the menu to modify your pathogen, letting you move around your organelles. M brings up the map and lets you fast travel between points on the map. And at the bottom left is your health bar. Every time you get hit, you lose 1 segment, but you can heal it back up. You might also get armor segments from white hearts throughout the game, which are temporary hit points that can block some damage. Also at the bottom left is your DNA level and the amount of cores you have. As I mentioned earlier, DNA lets you mutate your pathogen and gain bonuses for your run, while cores are the currency of the game, which you can use as shops. These 2 resources drop from enemies and can disappear, so make sure to pick them up. So how is the immune system going to try and stop you? There's many different enemies in the game, but they share some pretty similar attack patterns. A general rule of thumb is that anything that is red or spiky will hurt you. Here are the dangers to look out for. These red bullets are the main projectile you'll be dodging 99% of the time. Some enemies have spikes on their bodies that will hurt you if they touch you. Some enemies turn completely red, meaning that if you touch them anywhere, you'll take damage. And some enemies can straight up shoot lasers at you. Also, anything with a red circle indicates that it's going to explode. Side note, not all enemies will hurt you if you touch them, but it's probably best to avoid touching them anyway. Who knows what kind of nasty proteins are in their membranes? Now that you know about organelles, controls, and enemies, you're ready to start a run. Your goal in-game is to completely infect your host, and you do that by traveling from region to region, starting from the skin. Each region consists of multiple randomly generated, interconnected rooms. The different room types that you might encounter along the way are as follows. Most rooms you'll encounter are enemy combat rooms which have regular enemies in them. You'll get DNA and cores from defeating enemies, and also might get some healing or armor at the end. You have to clear all the enemies before you can move on. Question mark rooms usually contain 1 to 3 organelles or mutations, but you can only choose one. Locked or paywalled rooms can contain a wide range of powerful upgrades, such as increasing the damage of one of your organelle slots permanently. However, they cost 10 cores to enter. Shops are where you spend the cores you accumulate. Here the collector sells organelles as well as a heart and some DNA. The final room is the boss room, which you have to beat to get to the next region. You get to choose between 3 organelles/mutations as a reward when you do beat it. You also gain a large amount of plasmids from defeating bosses, which can be spent on permanent upgrades for the pathogen you are playing as after your run ends. Each pathogen has its own upgrade tree with a wide variety of bonuses to choose from, allowing for many builds that you can experiment with. And that's about it. Now that you know the basics of the game, let's get into some beginner tips and tricks to help you improve after the first few runs. My first tip is to play around your mitochondria. Overcharging your organelles makes them anywhere from 25% to over 100% better. So let's say you have an oxysome boosting the damage of your 100 damage weapon by 25%, making it 125 damage. Then let's say you have a mitochondrion boosting both of them, so it becomes 130 damage boosted by 65%. Suddenly, you're doing over 200 damage without any upgrades. Obviously, you can't be overcharged 100% of the time, so try to find reliable mitochondria that you think you can use well, and then add them to your strongest organelles. Tip number 2 is don't neglect your mobility. Picking up flagella or other mobility organelles and mutations really helps with dodging, and having no movement speed upgrades later on when there's more dangerous enemies and obstacles can be quite risky. Also, use your dash often. Dashing gives you a momentary invulnerability, so use it to dash through projectiles and get out of danger. Tip number 3 is to have environmental awareness. As you can see, the human body is very hostile to invaders, and different rooms will have different obstacles that can slow or hurt you, so it's important to always scope out the environmental threats in the room. Personally, I've gotten hit a million times after getting caught on one of these tangly things. I also want to point out that some obstacles are breakable. If orange cracks start appearing in a piece of terrain, you can destroy it by shooting it. Consider whether it's advantageous to break it or not, as you may want more room to dodge, especially against larger and more aggressive enemies. Plus, it's almost always a good idea to get rid of terrain with harmful effects like spikes. Tip number 4 is to bind weapons to different buttons. If you go to the organelle editor, you can choose to bind specific weapons to different buttons, like right click or middle click, instead of just left click. This is useful when, for example, you have both fast firing and slow firing weapons. This way you can spam your fast weapons while waiting for the right time to use your slow weapons. Or you can separate melee and ranged weapons so that you're not wasting stamina on melee weapons when you're shooting enemies from far away. I basically do this every run now. Speaking of melee weapons, my 5th tip is to try to have at least one melee weapon equipped at all times. This is because melee weapons are good both offensively and defensively. On offense, they do more damage on average than ranged weapons since their low range is a downside. And on defense, many melee weapons can destroy projectiles, plus they're super useful for knocking back enemies that get too close. Tip number 6 is to combine and connect infusers. The strongest builds in this game come from combining infusers into crazy effects, because many infusers are infusible themselves. This means that your attacks can essentially be infused with multiple effects at once. So experiment with putting infusers next to each other such that the power of your attacks increases exponentially. The order you place them in matters, so make sure to read the description and see what each combination of infusers is doing. My final tip is to simply keep playing. You will inherently get stronger each run due to the plasmids you get from bosses, and you'll get better at the game as you learn enemy behaviors and get familiar with the mechanics. Plus, this game is visually stunning, the music is amazing, and there are so many cool combos waiting to be experimented with, so just enjoy the ride. Thank you for watching.